My apartment is literally flooding. I just woke up and should I call 911? What do I do?
Oh, the images are just terrible. Breaking news this morning, hundreds of rescues in the heartland of our country. How much worse the severe weather is expected to get today.
New video reveals the lengths a Lakewood police officer went to take down a gunman after a rampage through Denver and Lakewood and after she herself had been shot.
Also, new details this morning about the kind of student loan relief the Biden administration is cooking up and why.
Year's regular season. We'll look at the process to whittle down the roster.
Yep.
Who will make the cut?
Bad news is it could be a tough day for some. Good news for fans is we're getting closer to opening day.
To real season.
That's
yes.
right. Good Tuesday morning to you. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. It was nice to see a little rain yesterday. Lisa Hidalgo tracking those chances today. It's going to be another warm one, Lisa.
Yeah, it'll be drier than yesterday, too. You're right. The rain was nice, but we didn't have intense flooding along the Front Range, at least not here from Denver north. We're looking at some clearing skies today and much drier conditions. Right now, 50s and 60s as you step out the door. Winds are at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. A pretty pleasant but warm afternoon. We're going to be in the low 80s as early as 1 o'clock, getting well into the mid to upper 80s for highs. Denver right around 88 today. It'll be a little cooler on the west side of town. Up and through the foothills, we'll see some mid to upper 70s. Boulder, though, you're at 85. Bennett, 87. Parker and Castle Rock in the upper 70s to low 80s. So things heating up and drying out statewide today. More 80s to low 90s for the eastern plains. Coming up, we will see a few isolated storms today. We'll take a closer look at that on our Futurecast. Plus, I'll show you how long this summer-like heat's going to hold on to our 7-day.
Watching some overnight construction getting picked up here and there, including to the south side of town, down along C470 on that westbound side, coming around Quebec. Take a look from the camera just after Quebec, and I just saw some. It's really dark. Yeah, it looks. It's really dark. You see some one of the lights when somebody drives through there. There you go. You can actually see somebody. Anyway, take a look at the map again. You can see that they are lifting up the cones. I was just watching that happen just a minute ago. Take a look at the drive on I-70 or by Lakeside. A little bit more light there on the highway, and they are starting to pick up some of the cones as they're doing some of the last of the paving and the lane line recognition activities that they're doing right now across I-70. But no major delays for you right now out to that west side of town. The overall drive looks pretty good then, and including tour from the airport. Pena Boulevard looks pretty nice, east or westbound.
And we want to get to some breaking news now. We are following the aftermath of deadly flooding in Texas and other states as that storm that dropped 15 inches of rain in one day now pushes east. Hundreds of people have been rescued from this. In Dallas, firefighters had to respond to dozens of emergency calls. In the suburb of Mesquite, a 60-year-old woman died after a flood overtook her vehicle. And 100 miles east of Dallas, some buildings are destroyed. The National Weather Service confirms a tornado is responsible.
I could see all this flying. I mean, it happened quick.
City phone ring with the alert that there was a storm in the area. Then a few minutes later, tornado, and then boom, started getting calls and that sort of thing that the tornado had hit.
Yeah, and Dallas and Fort Worth, of course, are home to major airports. So the storms caused several flight delays and cancellations. Nationwide, nearly 1,500 flights were canceled yesterday and about 8,000 were delayed.
We have new perspective this morning on the heroic actions a Lakewood police agent took to stop a gunman on a rampage last year. We do have a warning that the video is difficult to watch, but also a reminder that the agent, Ashley Ferris, is okay. Here is security video from an intersection where you see Ferris confronting the man at the Belmar Shopping Center after he had already shot and killed 5 people across Lakewood and Denver. He shot Ferris in the abdomen. She fell to the ground but was able to shoot back, killing him. It was earlier that night. Another Lakewood agent, Brianna Hagan, was involved in a shootout with the suspect. She was not hurt. The DA has cleared both agents for their actions. Agent Ferris, meanwhile, is still recovering and is on desk assignment, but she says she is eager to return to patrol.
Well, we're learning a 13-year-old's death in Longmont may have ties to gang violence. Zaya Rosales was killed when someone shot him from a car on Saturday. He was walking through a park with his cousin and another teenager who were also injured but survived. The cousin seen there on crutches. According to court documents, those teenagers who survived told police the shooting may have stemmed from a gang fight at the Boulder County Fairgrounds the weekend before. Members of one gang had been sending threats on Instagram ever since. One of those members is this young man, 19-year-old Yahir Solis, who is now charged with killing Rosales. A former Denver paramedic is charged with stealing more than 4 dozen vials of fentanyl. Court documents revealed Christopher Robert Pattinson stole 50 vials, claiming they were for patients, but he actually took them for himself. Pattinson is also accused of removing fentanyl citrate from vials and replacing it with another substance. Denver Health says no patients were harmed by Pattinson's actions and no patients went without their needed medication. He was fired in January.
Well, it is a waiting game right now between student loan borrowers, servicers, and the White House. For borrowers with a large balance hanging over their heads, a huge weight could be lifted tomorrow.
Yeah, Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live from the Auraria campus this morning with the potential plan to cancel some of that debt at least. And Christian, a big question though is how will the government pay that billions of dollars borrowers owe?
And CNN is breaking this news overnight that the Biden administration could make a decision as early as tomorrow. We could be hearing that announcement. So borrowers who make less than $125,000 a year, they could have up to $10,000 in student loans canceled. And the timing of this is important because Biden has extended a Trump-era moratorium on repayment 4 times already. The current deferment period expires next Wednesday. Borrowers, they haven't had to make payments since March of 2020 when the pandemic first started. Student debt has been an issue since before the election, long before our historic inflation kicked in. But that is no doubt weighing in on this decision because critics worry that canceling billions of dollars in debt, that money is technically money that we'd all still pay, because it's not going into the system, and that could make inflation worse and doesn't do anything to help future students or people who have already paid off their loans. On the other hand, progressives have been pushing President Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student debt, but he has repeatedly rejected that plan. But either way, we should know tomorrow, because that is when CNN is reporting that we are going to hear that announcement. Live this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Thank you, Christian. We'll be watching that one. Denver public school students, meanwhile, went back to school yesterday, but their teachers are focused on another important deadline. Their contract ends next week. So the district and teachers union will be negotiating for 3 days this week. I talked to the president of the Denver Classroom Teachers Association about what they'll be focusing on.
There are not just money, but there are some other asks here. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, money is one of those things that we need just to survive, right? But there's also some different things that we've talking to the district about. Mainly those things are around class size and caseload size, right? So our class sizes have really ballooned up over the last few years. Teachers and also our educators are all feeling the stress of that. They're feeling the stress of having more students. They love working with their students, but it's when the amount of volume that you have through grading papers, through talking with parents.
Yeah, the union says DPS is offering a 3.5% raise, or 3.05, I should say. They want something closer to the 9% rate of inflation.
Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett has some tough decisions to make today. He needs to cut the roster by 5 more players and has a lot of evaluation to sift through after a tough loss to the Bills on Saturday. Backup players played the whole game, and they have one more preseason game on this Saturday at home before the decisions really get tough. The Broncos have to cut their roster from 80 down to 53 by next week. They can then start building their practice squad, and this year's practice squad can have 16 players. Lisa.
It is now just about 5:10, and I'll have that forecast on our Super 7 Day for Saturday's game coming up. But as you're getting your kids ready for school today, it's going to be a beautiful, bright start to our day. 60s this morning at the bus stop, mid-80s by the time your kids get home. Lots of sunshine. We'll see highs in the upper 80s a little later. Coming up here in just a few minutes, I'll show you how the summertime heat's going to hold on through midweek.
Just got a message from RTD that we are seeing some A-line train issues. We had some early this morning, and they're going to have affected stops at the Central Park Station, the Peoria Station, and 40th and Airport right now. The rest of the drive looks okay, and they're picking up all the construction, including down here on C470. We'll take a look at cameras not only here, but across town for you coming up in just a few minutes.
A new space to support working women. The one-of-a-kind business coming to Denver next month.
And a Colorado senator is moving to the other side of the aisle. Could it influence party control of the entire chamber this November? His reasoning behind becoming a Democrat.